Hello students, I hope you are doing well. Today the topic is summary writing presented by Ms. Rizwana Ata. The question is, what is summary writing? According to the basic definition, a summary is shortened retelling of a longer piece like a book, a movie, an article, a poem or an essay in your own words. So summarizing is not actually a new thing for us because we are using it in our daily lives. For example, when you watch a movie, read a story, or have a conversation with someone, you retell this to your friends and siblings in your own words. This is actually summarizing the original content, but mostly this activity is verbal. Here today we are going to learn how to write it. So in short words, we can say a summary of a story is much shorter than the original story. So summarizing is telling the important events and ideas in your own words. A good summary is having some important features. Number one is it is short. That summary must be shorter than the original text. It talks about the main idea and provides important information that makes the main idea easy to understand. It means that your summary must be written in easy words which is understandable for the reader. It excludes unnecessary information and it is written in your own words. It means that summary must be written in your own and easy and simple words, which is understandable and comprehensible for the readers. There are few very good steps which you have to follow before writing a summary. That read the piece of writing thoroughly. It means that you have to read the text carefully to understand it. Next is read it without making any kind of mark. Instead, focus on really understanding what the author is trying to say. Your first priority is to understand the text. First, you have to understand it and then try to jot down the important points. Number three is reread the piece of writing, taking notes on the major points. Start writing in your own words. Write a first draft that includes the main points. So, first you have to underline or highlight the information and then start writing them down. Next point is reread the draft. After completing your first draft, you have to reread it just to find out your mistakes or just to find out which are the extra details you have added. And the last point is present the summary in a sequence. See, the authors are writing different ideas in their text. So what you have to do, you have to keep them in a sequence as the writer has done. These are the very important steps you have to keep in your mind. You should know few of the rules which are very important. That which things you need to include and which things you need to exclude. First rule is careful reading. Read it until you understand. Second rule is highlight important points. After reading, you have to underline some of the important information. Rule number three is derive the summary from the important points. Those points which you have already underlined will help you to jot down your summary. Next rule is it must be brief. 1/3 of the given text. For example, if the given text is of 300 words, you have to cut it short into 100 words. Next rule is avoid numbers, figures or dates. These things you need to exclude from your summary writing. Next point is don't add your opinion. It means don't be judgmental. You have to write down only the opinion of the writer and you are not allowed to write down your own views. The next rule is follow the same order as the original text. See, the authors, they used to deal with different ideas. So if you are having some text which you are going to summarize and it is having different ideas, so keep them in a sequence and don't shuffle them. Another rule is a paragraph form, that your summary must be written in a proper paragraph. The next rule is dialogue should not be quoted. If there are direct words of any character, do not use them directly and do not copy them. Try to write them in your own words or just exclude them. The last point is check and revise. That is very important. That if you are writing a summary, make sure to use synonyms instead of the original words. Be objective and don't judge. Reread your summary and make certain that you have accurately represented the author's ideas and key points. If you have done all these things and you have applied all the rules, you are going to write a very good summary. You have already learned about summary writing. What are the important features, steps, and rules? I have selected a story, and the title of the story is The Ants and the Grasshopper. The Ants and the Grasshopper. One bright day in late autumn, a family of ants was running about in the warm sunshine, drying out grains they had stored up during the summer, when a starving grasshopper, his fiddle under his arm, came up and humbly begged for a bite to eat. See that the first step was read it thoroughly. Read it to understand. So there are some of the words which you can see, these words are colorful. I have just highlighted them because these are the difficult words. To understand the text, what you have to do is use your dictionary. The word starving means very hungry. Fiddle is actually a musical instrument which you can see in the hands of the grasshopper. And humbly begged means he respectfully requested them for food. What? Cried the ants in surprise. Haven't you stored anything away for the winter? What in the world were you doing all last summer? I didn't have time to store up any food, said the grasshopper. I was busy making music that before I knew it, the summer was gone. The ants shrugged their shoulders in disgust. Disgust, again the word is highlighted, it means dislike. Making music, they cried, very well, now dance. And they turned their backs on the grasshopper and went on their work. There is a time for work and time for play. So this is the story all about. Now you have read the story, and after you have understood the text, now the first step is to find out what is important here in the story and cut down the irrelevant details. Draft, which I am going to write. See that I have cut down some of the extra details, like one bright day in the late autumn, in the warm sunshine, his fiddle under his arm, and a bite to eat. These words I have cut down because these are the extra details which are not required for the first draft. I have highlighted the whole page and cut down some of the words. You can see that there are inverted commas as well. So it means these are the dialogues of the characters, and this is not to be included in the summary writing. So I'm not going to include it in my first draft. The ants shrugged their shoulders in disgust. I have underlined the whole sentence because these are the author's words and I'm not going to copy them directly. So we can write them in easy words that the ants showed their dislikeness. Making music, they cried, very well, now dance. So all these words are not necessary for my summary writing. So I have just cut them down, and the rest of the things I'm going to include in my first draft. So after cutting down all the irrelevant details, my first draft is ready, and see that I'm going to read it. You have to just check your first draft, and again here I'm going to cut down some of the things. The ants were very hardworking and they had collected their food for winter in time. When the ants were drying the collected grains, A grasshopper came by and asked for food. The ants inquired why he did not collect some food. The grasshopper told them how he had wasted time playing music instead of collecting food. The ants refused to help him. Therefore, the moral of the story is that we should never waste our time when we have some important work to do. We should play in free time. Now see that first draft is ready, though I have not included the irrelevant details, but still it is not a short form of the story. It is longer than the required work. So what I'm going to do, again I'm going to cut down some of the things. One more thing. See that in the last 3 lines, I have added a point of view that therefore the moral of the story is that we should never waste our time when we have some important work to do. We should play in free time. That is not necessary. In the rules we have read that don't judge something. Don't add your point of view. So these 3 lines are actually not required. So we are going to cut them down. So this is the final draft which I have made. Now I'm going to read it. The story is about the ants and the grasshopper. The ants were wise. They collected their food in summer to use it for winter. The grasshopper wasted his time in playing music and did not have any food for winter. When he became hungry, he asked ants for food, but they refused to help him and taught him a lesson that one should use his time wisely. Now see, this is the summary of the story which we have read. It is having no extra details. It is very concise. It is having very simple words. It is understandable for the readers. In this way, you have to summarize the given text. After applying all the rules, all the steps, and important features of summary writing, I hope that you have understood very well. For writing a very good summary, you need to practice it at home.